So, I was scrolling through Twitter, as I do every single day on this damn platform, and I came across a snippet from an article about Rachel Reeves. I think it was a broader interview with Rachel Reeves, and this is what I saw. I tell her that the Shadow Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, recently told me that prospective Labour leaders invariably move to the left to win over the membership and then dart to the right to try and win over the country. She laughs and moves on. Well, Keir asked me when he appointed me Shadow Chancellor how much it would cost to nationalise all these different companies. I said it would cost tens of billions of pounds. He asked me what impact that would have on bills. I said none. You'd still be buying gas and electricity on global markets. He said, what if we taxed them more? I said, yeah, we could raise a lot of money and use it to help people pay their bills. Now, a lot of the replies are like, yeah, she's right. This is true. No, it's not true. First things first, privatisation is a sham. Most people recognise that. Most people, including Tory voters, support public ownership of our public services. You saw Aaron, well, if you didn't see it, Aaron Bassani was on GB News, and who was he speaking to? I don't know, some rich millionaire. She was on The Apprentice. They were discussing Thames Water about nationalisation, and she even agreed, and even the GB News presenter agreed, because there is no space where you can defend privatisation. First of all, this makes Keir Starmer look really stupid, because it shows he doesn't always talk about, like turning around to your shadow chancellor saying, so how much would it cost? What would that do? I feel like if you're leader of the Labour Party and you're going to be Prime Minister, you should have some idea. And if you didn't go into the leadership, then 3 years on, or 3 years into your leadership, you should know like basic economic principles. I'm just saying. But anyways, this is why she's wrong. So when she says no, it won't bring down bills, trying to get into her head, what does she mean by that? Did she mean that it won't bring down bills because the act of nationalisation won't automatically bring that? Or is she saying no, it won't bring down bills because despite nationalising industry, it's still not possible? The fact that she didn't add any caveats and she simply just said no leads me to believe that she doesn't think it's possible whether it's privatised or nationalised. Now, if that's the case, she's completely wrong. If you have an industry that's privately owned, and a lot of it, such as trains, are subsidised, a lot of these industries don't actually turn around a high profit. They're not even lucrative businesses to get into. So what you have is the taxpayer propping up these private industries, and then what the owners are doing is they're giving dividends to their mates. So essentially, taxpayers are paying for the profits of the company owners. This is what you could do under nationalisation. First of all, you cut out any middleman. You cut out the profit motive, because you don't need to be paying dividends to these rich wankers. We don't need to be giving wages to the profiteers. So already you're saving money. So think of energy bills, for example. I mean, I said that trains aren't that profitable. Sure, energy is a little bit different because there are companies who are making shitloads of money. The profits of energy companies have skyrocketed whilst bills have gone up. So where's the link? The link is that any financial hit companies get, they automatically push the burden down to the consumer, the customer. That's why bills are going up. But then you also need to pay profits on top, which company owners who decide the profits, well, they give themselves fat wages. Get rid of that. You've already saved a ton of money. Now, since a lot of public services are already subsidized, then why are we not nationalizing it when we're paying for it anyway? Essentially, privatization means we pay for things twice. So if you think of gas, think of the infrastructure that was built on. That was all on the public dime. It was the workers who built the infrastructure, built these services, paid for by taxpayers. Then it became privatized. And then companies are using public infrastructure to pump natural materials from the ground, which we all collectively own or should own, and then they're charging us for it, but they're also charging a lot more. Imagine if you made a product. You use your own money, your own time, and then you went to a company or just someone else. You gave it to them. So what do you think? And they said, okay, brilliant, thanks. And they ran off and then sold it and made the profit. And then they tried selling it back to you. You'd be pretty damn angry, wouldn't you? Because you were the one that paid for the materials. You were the one that put the time and effort to manufacture it. And then you've got someone else who didn't have a hand in actually producing these things or building up the infrastructure to charge you back. Now, by the way, that is capitalism in of itself. So the government, by saving money, by cutting out the profit motive, can bring bills down. Now, if there are times of economic turbulence where things such as the Russia-Ukraine war and bills do go up, the government does have the ability to take the hit without passing it on to consumers. So if a company, their role is to make profits, and they get hit with rising bills, they will just pass that down and the customer pays for it. That's called privatizing the gains and socializing the losses. Well, if the government takes a hit, sure, the government may go into debt, but the government is already in debt, and the government's role is to go into debt to protect the public. So when the NHS and the welfare state was built, it was built off the back of World War II, We were massively in debt, and yet we went further into debt to create the NHS, but it was an investment because now we have a health service, free at the point of use, people are healthier, more people can go into work, tax receipts, yada, yada, yada. That means if there's huge market fluctuations, the government can take the hit without increasing bills. Or if it does have to increase bills, they can increase it marginally without having to pay shareholders dividends or the huge wages of CEOs. Then there's the fact that everyone wants a bang for the buck. Everyone wants a good deal. I mean, you wouldn't overpay for something, right? If you wanted to buy a particular item and you knew the cost of the item, you even knew the market value of the item, and someone charging you double for it, you'd be like, no, thank you. Well, that's how our public services or privatized public services run. We're paying more for the actual value we're getting back, all the while workers are making shit wages because all those wages are funneling to the top, and all that extra money, again, is going to the pockets of the rich. Even on basic morals, privatization has always been wrong. It's never worked. But someone like Rachel Reeves, who is going to be potentially our next chancellor, doesn't have any idea what she's talking about. The whole of the Labour Party have no idea what they're talking about when it comes to the economy because they are seeing things just like the Tories, just how the mainstream political debate or economic debate is that people seem to think that government economies run in the same way as microeconomies, or macroeconomics is the same as microeconomics, which means, well, if I've got a tenner in my pocket and I spend that 10 quid, that means I haven't got 10 pounds anymore. That's because I have a complete independence from my income to my expenditure. But when it comes to government economies, there is no independence between income and expenditure. What do I mean by that? Very simple. Well, if the government spends money on public services, job creation programs, what do you think happens? Well, one, it creates jobs. That means more tax receipts. Two, it means that more people have money in their pockets or they have jobs, which means they can spend money. That money then goes into businesses. It acts as a multiplier effect. It means the economy is actually better. Keir Starmer, Rachel Reeves, their views on the economy is not based on logic or pragmatism, and opposing nationalisation of our public services is completely ideological and fucking stupid.